On the edge of a quiet little town stood a house no one visited anymore. It wasn't falling apart, not exactly, but it had the look of a place left behind. The shutters were always closed, the grass was always too long, and the front gate gave a lonely squeak if the wind touched it. People whispered about the house, of course. Children dared one another to touch the door and run away. Adults simply crossed the street and avoided looking too long. It was easier not to think about what might be inside, but not everyone avoided it. One autumn evening, a young man named Daniel walked down Hollow Lane with a heavy heart. He had been traveling for days, and though the town looked quiet and safe, he had no money for an inn. The sun had already slipped behind the trees, and a silver fog crept across the road. That was when he saw the lonely house. The porch light was on, just one bulb glowing faintly through the mist. Daniel paused at the gate. It squeaked when he pushed it open, but no one came out to stop him. The door itself was unlocked. He hesitated, then whispered into the darkness, "Hello? Is anyone here?" Silence. He stepped inside. The house smelled faintly of dust, but it wasn't dirty. A hallway stretched ahead with a rug worn thin in the middle. A lamp on a small table flickered, as though someone had left it burning just for him. Tired and grateful, Daniel dropped his pack and whispered again, "Thank you." The house did not answer, but the air felt warmer somehow. That night, Daniel found a room upstairs. The bed was already made, as though expecting a guest. He lay down, listening to the soft creaks of the old wood, and drifted off into sleep. But sleep didn't stay peaceful for long. A sound stirred him awake. It was faint at first, like footsteps, slow and careful, moving across the floorboards downstairs. Daniel held his breath. Perhaps it was the house settling, he told himself. Old places always groaned and shifted in the night. Then he heard it again. Step, step, step. Closer now, the sound moved up the staircase. Daniel sat up, heart thudding, but something in the house seemed to hold him in place. He wanted to leave, but his legs felt heavy. Slowly, the footsteps came down the hall, stopping right outside his door. The doorknob turned. It didn't open. Daniel waited, frozen, until at last the steps retreated down the hall. He stayed awake until morning, listening to the house breathe. When dawn arrived, the house looked ordinary again. Sunlight stretched across the floor, and the air was still. Daniel almost laughed at himself. Of course it had only been his imagination. He was tired, that was all. He stayed another night. And another. Each time the footsteps came back. Some nights they stopped at his door. Other nights he swore he heard them inside his room, circling the bed while he forced his eyes shut, pretending to sleep. By the fourth night, Daniel noticed something else. Each morning when he woke, his belongings had moved. His pack was closer to the door, his boots were neatly set by the bed, and once the window he had locked was wide open. The house, it seemed, was taking care of him, or preparing him. One evening, as the fog curled once more around Hollow Lane, Daniel made a choice. He sat at the little desk in his room and whispered into the silence, "I know you're here. What do you want?" The lamp flickered, the floorboards creaked, and then, in a voice soft as dust, the house replied, "Stay." Daniel's breath caught in his throat. He stood, backing toward the door, but the wood beneath his feet groaned and shifted, holding him in place. The walls seemed to breathe, closer, warmer, until he could hardly think. Again the whisper came, "Stay." He tried to run. He reached the door, but when he opened it, the hall was gone. Only darkness stretched beyond, endless and deep, swallowing every step. He turned back, and the bed was waiting. The covers pulled back like an open hand. In town, people still whisper about the house on Hollow Lane. They say the light in the window sometimes glows at night, though no one has lived there for years. Travelers sometimes go missing near the road, and if you listen very carefully at the gate, you might hear footsteps moving through the halls, slow and steady, as though someone is still pacing, night after night, waiting. Because the house always wants someone to stay.